This time we're taking a look at the Garfield movie. I missed this one in theaters, so I'm taking a look at it on Netflix now. Plus, as usual, we're going to be doing some merch search. We're going to start with that, and we'll take a look at what Garfield merchandise is still available that ties into the movie, or is just generally Garfield related. So here I am at a Books A Million, where I found this Garfield wall calendar for 2025. Here's a look at the back of it. Any of you might be interested in hanging Garfield on your wall all year. And also, they had a desk calendar, a page-a-day desk calendar, where you get a comic strip per day featuring your favorite furry orange feline. Now, here in the menswear section of a Target, I found these t-shirts, including a Garfield t-shirt, Lasagna by the Slice, free delivery, except Mondays. We hate Mondays. Over at Barnes & Noble, they had this book for young people just learning how to read. This is step 2 in this reading program. And here's a look at the back cover, if you have kids of the right age that might find this helpful. Also in the Barnes & Noble, there was a treasure trove of Garfield books, just collections of Garfield comic strips. And they're showing you here one by one each of these Fat Cat 3-packs. There's Volume 1, this is Volume 2, here's Volume 3. Each of these collects 3 of his classic books, and each of those books collects classic newspaper comic strips featuring Garfield. There's Volume 20. And Volume 22, that was the latest one they had. But they also had 2 of his more recent books, his 70th book, Garfield Goes Hog Wild, and Garfield Road Pizza, that's his 73rd book. And those were just available loose, just not part of a collection. Now here at a Five Below, I found this wall poster of Garfield saying Midnight Snack Attack. Pretty cool if you like wall posters. And they also had this Garfield plush in a bin full of plushes. Very cute, round, roly-poly Garfield plush. I like it.
Those were amazing products. I think everyone should run out and buy them right now. But isn't it time for you to start talking about my movie now? You're posting this on a Monday, aren't you?
And with that, on with the show. The Garfield movie, starring the voices of Chris Pratt and Samuel L. Jackson, marks the famous Orange Tabby's return to feature films for the first time since 2006 in Garfield: A Tale of Two Kitties, and it's the first time Garfield has ever appeared in a fully animated film. The movie begins with a flashback that takes the audience back to when Garfield, voiced by Pratt, was just a kitten. His father, Vic, voiced by Jackson, leaves him alone in an alley across from an Italian restaurant and doesn't return. Hungry, little Garfield makes his way to the window of the restaurant and stares longingly inside. He is noticed by one of the patrons, John, a lonely bachelor eating pizza alone at a table for one. John takes pity on the kitten and opens the window to sneak him inside. Garfield gingerly nibbles on a piece of pepperoni that John offers before his voracious appetite takes over and he eagerly begins eating everything in sight. John scrambles to catch up and get the little orange eating machine under control before someone notices. Fortunately, a birthday party distracts the staff long enough for John to collect some lasagna takeout and sneak Garfield out of the restaurant. Despite the chaos, John's heart has been melted by the kitten and he decides to adopt him. This leads to a montage establishing Garfield's weekly routine that consists of a lot of pranking of John, with assistance from John's dog Odie, as well as a lot of eating, sleeping, lounging in comfy easy chairs watching cat videos, more eating, more sleeping, and of course, surviving the black hole of bad luck that is the dreaded Monday. Things change one night when Garfield and Odie get up for a midnight snack. Suddenly, an intimidating pair of stray dogs break in and throw the 2 house pets in a sack. The canine duo take Garfield and Odie to an abandoned mall and leave them hanging upside down from the ceiling. Later, a mysterious cloaked figure arrives to rescue them. It's Vic, Garfield's father. He tries to hurry them out of the mall, but Garfield is reluctant to go with him as he is still holding a grudge over his abandonment. When they do try to make a getaway, their escape is blocked by the arrival of Jinx. She is a former member of Vic's gang of alley cats. When she got caught at a dairy farm during an attempted milk heist with the gang, she ended up doing time in the pound. She blames Vic for her capture and wants him to pay, so she sent her 2 henchdogs to kidnap Garfield and used him as bait to lure Vic. Jinx demands that Vic return to the dairy farm to finish the heist from before and bring her back an entire truckload of milk. She further insists that he take Garfield and Odie along to help with the job, and orders her henchdogs to follow them to ensure that they comply. Thus, Garfield and Odie find themselves pulled into Vic's life of crime. They have to go along if they are ever to have any hope of escaping and returning home. The first thing I will say is that I surprisingly found the Garfield movie to be laugh-out-loud funny. It has a comedy style that is closer to the humor of the classic cartoon shorts from the golden age of animation than most movies released today, and that sense of humor really works for me. The animation has a snappy, high-energy style to it that reminds me of the early Looney Tunes cartoons, particularly those directed by Bob Clampett. This energy keeps the comic timing on point and helps most of the gags to land. As the first high-profile Garfield project in several years, the Garfield movie serves as a reintroduction to Garfield for today's audiences. I would like to be able to say that it's the definitive contemporary take on Garfield, and it almost is, but I don't think it quite hits that mark, though I will say it's at least in the ballpark. The earliest Garfield comic strips were inspired by cartoonist Jim Davis's experiences as a cat owner, but the subject matter soon expanded to encompass topics like food, dieting and exercising, or failing to diet and exercise, sibling rivalry, holidays, visiting relatives, dealing with fads and new technology, and trying to get a date. The Garfield comics, books, series, and specials would find the humor in these relatable things, and then exaggerate it cartoonishly. So you could say the Garfield brand of humor is to take something universally relatable and turn it wacky. The Garfield movie does this very well in the beginning. You can find the biggest laughs in this first part, but when Garfield is dragged into the milk heist, the circumstances become less relatable, and while still funny, they afford fewer opportunities for that uniquely Garfield style of humor to happen. I do recall some Garfield specials that were about exploring how Garfield reacts when he is taken out of his element, so the heist storyline is not entirely off-brand, but I think it would have worked better if it had been saved for a sequel, allowing this first movie to expand a bit more on Garfield's origin story. The Garfield franchise has always relied heavily on the relationships between the main characters, Garfield, John, and Odie, as well as their supporting cast, consisting mainly of Nermal, Arlene, and Liz. In the Garfield movie, Nermal and Liz make only brief cameo appearances. Arlene does not appear at all, and John's appearances on screen drop off significantly after the heist plot is introduced. Odie is given a significant amount of screen time, but his characterization is almost a complete 180 from previous versions. Odie has usually been depicted as dim-witted, but lovably innocent, and Garfield has typically treated him like an annoying little brother. He is generally antagonistic towards him, but when the chips are down, he will show that he really does care about him. In the Garfield movie, however, Odie is hyper-competent, seemingly capable of accomplishing anything he puts his mind to, or that Garfield asks of him, and seems to have the confidence that comes with that level of ability. Garfield treats this Odie as his best friend and confidant. Don't get me wrong, this Odie was fun, and I enjoyed watching him, but it felt more like watching Snoopy than Odie. I even found myself wondering if this script had evolved from someone's idea for a Garfield and Snoopy crossover movie. To address the elephant in the room, I do need to bring up the voice casting. Samuel L. Jackson works fine as Vic since he's a new character, but Chris Pratt just doesn't sound like Garfield, and you never quite get used to it. I like Pratt as an actor, and I know he is capable of doing character voices, as we all heard in the Super Mario Bros. Movie. but he uses his normal speaking voice for Garfield. Pratt's speaking voice has a light tone to it that doesn't match the character. The most iconic Garfield voice was provided by the late Lorenzo Music. His voice gave Garfield a perpetually sleepy quality that came through even when Garfield was at his most excited and animated. This was perfect for the notoriously lazy house cat and became a signature of the character that other voice actors emulated. With that quality missing in Pratt's voice, it's always a little distracting. Overall, I had a lot of fun with this movie. It had the laughs and understood the brand and its appeal. If it had leaned a little more into those strengths, I think it would have been a near-perfect Garfield movie. I recommend the Garfield movie for fans of classic cartoons and the wacky humor that they are known for. As for Garfield fans, they should enjoy the movie too, though they may find it leaves them wanting a little more.